Hi, my name is Darla and I'm from Italy. I often wonder if my life would have turned out differently if I didn't have this scar. Before I tell you my crazy story, please like and subscribe. I was blessed to grow up in a loving family. Dad was a teacher and Mom had an online business, so she was always there for me when I needed her. My family was perfect. But one night, my world was turned upside down. Even though I was 5 at the time, I remember it like it was yesterday. Mom and Dad were preparing dinner and I was sitting by the kitchen table. Suddenly, a masked man entered the kitchen and Mom grabbed me in front of her. Dad tried to ward off the intruder with the knife in his hand, but the intruder snatched me from Mom and threw me into Dad's path. I felt a sharp pain on my face and Mom screamed. The relationship with Dad wasn't the same when I was released from the hospital. Dad couldn't bear to stay in the same room that I was in. He no longer looked at me or hugged me. One day, Dad went to work and he never returned. I was heartbroken, and for years I blamed myself. If it wasn't for this ugly scar, then maybe Dad would still be around. As I went through school, kids and teachers were mean about my scar. I tried to make friends, but one girl named Charlotte told everyone that I had an infectious disease and nobody wanted to play with me. I resorted to wearing a mask in hopes that things may change, but it didn't. The last straw was when a teacher placed my lunch in a dog bowl and ordered me to eat it. Mom removed me from the school, but she was also able to get the teacher fired. Mom homeschooled me, and I was happier than I'd been in a long time. But then, life took a turn for the worse. Grandma, Dad's mom, was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and she had a heart condition. Nobody knew where Dad was, so Mom and I dropped everything and went to help her. Sadly for me, I was enrolled in school once again when I turned 15. On the first day of school, as I walked through the hallway, a group of boys walked up to me. One threw his arms around my shoulder, and I shrugged him off.
Babe, I just wanted to say hi to the new girl. Her name's Dean.
Hi.
So, are you gonna show me what's under the mask?
No.
Then I'll just have to see for myself.
The boy snatched the mask from my face, dropped it on the ground, and howled with laughter after he got a look at my scar. Then he pushed me to the floor. He and his goons ran away making animal noises. I'm Caleb. Sorry about that. A hot guy extended his hand to me, and he helped me up.
Dean and his group of clowns are always up to no good. Are you okay?
I nodded. Suddenly, a girl pulled Caleb away. What are you doing?
Jasmine, I'm just helping a friend.
Friend? She isn't even pretty. Did you see what was under the mask? She needs to wear a sign that says, "Don't feed the animals." Jessica and her minions laughed and dragged Caleb away. The day passed uneventfully until the last period. While doodling in my book, the teacher walked in and greeted the class. My heart stopped. My eyes widened as I looked up. Dad! I hadn't seen Dad in 9 years. Everyone stared at us in silence.
I'm sorry, I think you've mistaken me for someone else.
My heart swirled as the students laughed and pointed at me. First, she needs a new face. Now she's looking for a new daddy. I grabbed my belongings and ran home crying. How could he not remember his own daughter? Was he ashamed of me because of my scar? At home, I sat in my bedroom and looked out the window deep in thought. A penny for your thoughts. Grandma walked into the room and sat on my bed next to me. I told Grandma about my day and I begged her not to tell Mom about me seeing Dad. Later, while I was doing homework, Mom knocked on my door. Darla, can you please pick these up at the store? She handed me a list of groceries. I'm going to get ready to take up a shift at Susie's Cafe. Mom's business was slow, so she had found a job in a cafe a few blocks away. I quickly made my way to the store. As I stood in the store, holding a box of cereal, someone spoke right behind me.
Hey, Darla.
I dropped the cereal and turned to the voice. It was Caleb. Caleb and I bent down to pick up the cereal and bounced our heads. As I rubbed my head, embarrassed, Caleb picked up the cereal and handed it to me.
Do you live close by?
Yes, I live about 2 blocks away with Mom and Grandma. Caleb! Jasmine's voice called from down the aisle.
I'll see you in school, okay?
I nodded and watched as Caleb hustled towards Jasmine. What kind of hold did she have on Caleb? On my way home, I saw Dad with a boy who looked about 5 years of age and a woman. I walked over to them, but when he saw me coming, he tried to cross the street. I ran to him and grabbed his arm. Why don't you want to talk to me, Dad?
I don't know who you are. Please, get out of our way.
Babe, who is this girl?
I have no idea.
I just wanted to let you know that Grandma, your mother, is sick. Or are you going to pretend she doesn't exist either? While you are able to go on with your life, Mom and I had to drop everything to move here. You're not only a lousy father, but you're a lousy son too. I kicked Dad in his shin and ran home. After that incident, we got a new teacher in Dad's place. We both avoided each other at school. One morning during assembly, the theater arts teacher announced that the school decided to have a talent show to raise funds for new computers, and they needed a few kids to be on the committee. I raised my hand and smiled when Caleb did the same. Jasmine glared at him, and I expected her to raise her hand as well, but she didn't. Over the next few days, Caleb and I worked closely together and became good friends. He was charming and funny, and I had a huge crush on him. Every time I saw him, my heart fluttered and my cheeks would turn bright red. One evening after meeting, Caleb offered to walk me home. In my mind, I jumped for joy, but outside I smiled and calmly said, "Okay, sure." We talked and laughed as we walked. Suddenly, I tripped on a crack in the pavement and felt myself falling forward. Caleb grabbed my arm and steadied me.
Are you okay?
I nodded. Caleb slid his fingers down my arm and held my hand.
Just make sure you don't stumble again.
The week leading up to the talent show, Grandma got really sick and I wanted to drop out of the committee to spend more time with her. Darla, a lot of people are counting on you. Grandma wouldn't want you to drop out. She'd want you to finish what you started. Finally, it was the night of the talent show.
Are you ready to go on?
Caleb squeezed my hand. I nodded. Just then, Jasmine appeared out of nowhere and snatched the mask from my face and ran away. I covered my face. The worst part was I didn't have another mask. Caleb, I can't go on stage like this. My eyes filled with tears. Caleb lowered my hands and gently traced my scar. He kissed me lightly on the lips.
Darla, you're the most beautiful girl in the world, with the most beautiful voice. People will love you.
Seeing my hesitancy, he added,
I'll dim the lights, okay?
I nodded. I heard my name called and waited until Caleb dimmed the lights to walk out on stage. During my performance, I was so into my song that I didn't realize that Caleb turned the lights all the way up. I finished my performance, and sweat formed on my brow as I expected the usual slur of mean words. Suddenly, the audience cheered and applauded. I took a bow and waved into the audience. It was then I noticed Mom at the entrance, and she looked worried. I hustled off the stage and approached Mom. "Mom, what's wrong?" "We need to get home. Grandma may not make it through the night." That night, Mom and I stayed by Grandma's side until she passed away peacefully. At Grandma's funeral, Dad showed up. I wasn't about to be silent about it. I marched over to him. "What are you doing here? You have the audacity to show up after you've been avoiding me at school? I told you Grandma was sick and you ignored me. Grandma needed you when she was alive, not now that she's dead." I tried to claw at Dad's face, but Mom pulled me back just in time and carried me outside the church. "Darla, I know you don't like your dad, but causing a scene at Grandma's funeral isn't right. What did you mean Dad's been avoiding you at school?" I then admitted to Mom that Dad was a teacher at the school. "I don't want to go back to that school again. I want to be homeschooled. I can't bear to see Dad ever again." A few days later, Mom and I went to the reading of Grandma's will. Dad didn't show up. Mom inherited everything. Before we left, the lawyer handed Mom a letter. After Grandma's death, I refused to go outside. I'd just curl up in Grandma's bed and wish that she was still with us. One afternoon, there was a knock on the door. Mom asked me to get it since she was preparing lunch. Reluctantly, I opened the door and I was shocked. "Dad, what are you doing here? You're not welcome here." I slammed the door in Dad's face, and when I turned around, Mom stood behind me. "Darla, what did you do?" Mom rushed to the door and opened it. "I'm so sorry about that. Please come in." "Mom, after all he did, you're letting him in?" "I invited him over." Then Mom told me something that shook me to my core. "Darla, this is not your father." "What? I'm adopted?" Mom shook her head and rolled her eyes. "No, silly. This is your father's brother, Stephen." I felt sick to my stomach as flashbacks of how I treated Uncle Stephen replayed in my mind. "I'm so sorry. Can you ever forgive me?" He smiled.
I guess I can make an exception for my favorite niece.
Mom told us that in the letter given by my lawyer, which was written by Grandma, she admitted to having twin boys. She was 18 when they were born and she didn't have enough money to keep both of them. So she put Stephen up for adoption. She wrote the letter when she was diagnosed because she didn't want to die with the guilt she's been living with for all these years. After our discussion with Uncle Stephen, I agreed to go back to school. I couldn't wait to see Caleb. "I still can't believe you actually kissed her. Ew!"
You told me if I kissed her that I'd get to take you out. I won the bet, so I'll pick you up Friday at 7.
I couldn't believe what I just heard. Caleb had been playing me all this time just to score a date with Jessica. I turned around and headed back to the house. When I got home, I decided to enter through the kitchen. I didn't want to have to explain to Mom why I was home, at least not now anyway. When I got inside, I heard Mom and Uncle Stephen talking in the living room.
"Jen, why do you want to try to kill him again? You already got money from the old lady."
"It's not enough. I need more, and Kirby still has me as a beneficiary of his will."
How do you know that?
The same way I found out years ago that you and Kirby were brothers. I have my sources. He's staying at the Hilton Hotel off Wrightston Road. At least this time, you won't put my daughter in harm's way.
This couldn't be happening. Uncle Steven was the intruder. He was the reason I had this scar. And Mom set everything up. She wanted to kill my dad. For all I knew, she could have killed Grandma. I slipped out of the kitchen and ran all the way to the bus station. I needed to get to Dad before Uncle Steven did. Uncle Steven did. Uncle Steven did. Uncle Steven did. Uncle Steven did.